What's up, guys? It's Powerbang, and as you can probably see, we're going to talk a little bit about anti-3-star war-based design. There's been a lot of talk about this subject recently, and it comes down to an assessment on how competitive is your clan and what is the level of competition that you face. In addition to the level of competition that you face, what is the skill level of your own clan? Is your own clan able to put up a fair amount of 3 stars on Town Hall 9 and lower bases? If the answer to that question is yes, you want to start thinking about designing anti-3-star war-based designs. The reason for this is 2-star wars are not going to get the job done against you. My clan, Whiz on Her Face, is at the point now where if we see a go wipe against our bases, that's a 2-star strategy, we're immediately celebrating because we know that this clan is not coming at us with 3-star strategies. That means that the inevitable 3 stars that we're going to put up on their bases are not going to be matched by their team. So it essentially puts us at a huge advantage. So if you've decided that it's going to take 3 stars to beat you guys need to listen up and start designing your bases in a fashion that make it very, very difficult to 3-star you. Now, at this point, I will say that there are no such thing as a anti-3-star base. Every base can be 3-starred with the proper troops, the proper strategy, and the proper execution. Whether that means a Town Hall 10 comes down to 3-star you, it is what it is. A very, very talented player can pick apart a base, especially if it's a cleanup attack and the trap locations are known, and they can come at you with an effective strategy to take you out. So don't think that because you design your base in an anti-3-star fashion that it's impossible to 3-star you, because that will not be the case. However, that being said, I have employed this style of base design for the past several months, and my base does not get 3-starred, hardly ever. The base that I'm currently using, I'm going to show you this base later on in this video. I have not been 3-starred. I guess I put it into use about 8 wars ago, maybe. So probably 12, 13, 14 attacks, somewhere in that range. 8 of those were Town Hall 10s coming down to hit my Town Hall 9 base. And I have not been 3-starred, and a 2-star is the worst thing that's happened. And most of the Town Hall 10s, I don't know if it's just bad attackers or what, but they weren't even getting 2 stars half of the time. So we're going to take a look first at some bases, some examples that you don't want to copy. You don't want to do this. And I'm going to break down the different components of a base, the design, and why you do the things that you do. Now, if you remember back to our Magic, 3-star opener, where it's a 3-step process where you lure the clan castle, kill the archer queen, trip any bombs, or take out an air defense as needed. That 3-star opener is basically what you're going to need to keep in mind for your base design, but you're going to think about it in the reverse. Now, that same opener process, the luring and killing your clan castle, taking out the archer queen, and tripping bombs and killing air defenses, that's what the opponent is going to need to try to do to you in order to have a chance to 3-star your base. So what does that mean? That means that you're going to want to make it difficult to lure your clan castle. You're going to want to make it difficult to access your archer queen and also get her killed. And then you're going to also want to tuck your bombs deep into your base. You're going to want to bury those to where, you can't just send in a single hog and trip something that's, in the outer ring of your base. That's going to be a detriment to your base design as, the hogs follow up later on in that raid. You want to protect your air defenses. You want them to be well balanced, but at the same time, you don't want them to be completely symmetrical. So I want to show you guys a few bases here and highlight, what you don't want to do. And then I have some pointers on what you do want to do, as well as some examples. And then I'll go into my live base and show you everything, traps, all that good stuff. And then, hopefully you guys can learn something from it. So looking at the base that's currently on the screen, we have an issue here with symmetry, and we have an issue with air defense locations. We have, okay, so let's break it down. Let's look at, first of all, what's the first step? Luring the clan castle. The clan castle in this base, if we look at the radius of it, it's going to be something like this, which is great if you're trying to lure from the side here. If you send in troops from any of these sides, this radius is behind the defense buildings. So look at the defense buildings here, and if that clan castle lure radius falls behind them, that's in good shape. Where you run into problems, however, is if you send in troops from this side. If you send, 1 or 2 hogs, they easily penetrate that radius and get the clan castle lured. You want to make sure that you prioritize centralizing this clan castle. It's a far higher priority to centralize and make your clan castle unlureable than it is to keep your town hall in the center of the base. The reason your town hall goes in the center of the base is if you're trying to protect against 2 stars. Now, that's a mentality shift for a lot of people because, we're trained to believe that the town hall is the most important building and it's worth a star all by itself. So obviously that's the building that, we need to protect the most, when in reality, it's actually the clan castle. This building here is what you want to protect the most, because getting that thing lured is the key to a successful 3-star raid most of the time. That town hall, think of it no longer as, the most important building. All that is your best high HP obstacle. It's got the most hit points of any building on your base, and you're going to start using it as something that gets in the way of other objectives. Now, if we think back to that initial question that I asked you, what type of clan are you, and is it going to take 3 stars to beat your clan? If that answer was yes, this town hall no longer matters. Who cares if it gets destroyed, because 2 stars is not going to beat you anyways. The entire base is going to have to be leveled consistently throughout throughout your whole clan. Your base is going to have to be completely destroyed for that other team to have a chance to defeat you in a clan war. So forget about the town hall being centralized, and then get the clan castle in there in the center instead. So that being said, looking at this base, the air defense positioning, we see in the core it's got a couple, and on the outskirts, this is bad because it's not balanced. You'll notice that on the outskirts of this base, so here and here out, the air defense coverage is really poor, and you can basically send in targeted balloons and wipe out a very good chunk of the base's defense, and that's just no good. If you look at giant bombs in this base, there are none in the core, anyways. There are no anywhere in this core, and then anywhere inside the secondary ring, there are no openings for any traps really at all. So we know that the giant bombs are outside of that red square, and if you look at the openings here, obviously there are potential double giant bombs out here, but they're very exposed. How hard is it going to be to send in a hog or two to get that stuff tripped? It's not good placement. So looking at the queen kill, in this base, the queen kill is incredibly easy because there are no buildings. You could drop a king right here. Obviously you could send in a golem first. The golem's going to go in to this area here, tank these buildings, and the queen is going to jump over the wall and stand there and shoot your golem. All you have to do is drop 1 king there. He's going to lock on and kill her. So that's all it took to take out the queen in this base. The CC lure was easy. The bomb positions are all very trippable. If you wanted to take out air defenses and approach it like that, those are also extremely accessible. Overall, it just doesn't protect against any of the key elements that you're trying to prevent against in that 3-star opener process. So let's look at another base, and we'll analyze that one. All right, so in this base, the clan castle lure, again, it's very, very easy because it's down here on the bottom side of the core, bottom right, and that radius is out here past these buildings. So all you have to do is send in a couple giants to knock on this wall, and that's going to get the lure. So they've prioritized that town hall again above their clan castle. The CC lure is easy. The Archer Queen location is a little bit better in this base because it's in the core, and you have to go through several walls to get to her. But the air defense location is poor because all of them are, together, and they're kind of buried in the core, where this outer ring, you could send in balloons to take out that outer ring, the point defense, before the air defenses in the middle activate and take care of it. But the real weakness of this base is the double giant bomb locations. Notice there are no potential double giant bombs. The only thing that you have are single giant bomb locations, and one in each compartment. This is very, very easy to combat because, one heal in each of these locations takes care of it. And then on your entry, you can send in your kill squad and golems, etc., after the lure, and send in to take out that queen. You're able to trip this bomb position here, and then wipe out basically this section of the base on your queen kill. So after that happens, all you have to do is drop heal spells in this location, and because in the core the only two buildings are two expos, you're going to quickly wipe out this base. So again, not a good setup. And then the symmetry is also it's very easy to tell where things are. I mean, if you look at the 2x2 compartments here in the corner, everything's very symmetrical. The Teslas are obviously going to pop up there. The giant bombs in the outer compartments here, all very symmetrical, very, very easy to tell where that stuff's going to be. So let's pull up another base. All right, so in this one, same type of thing. We look first at the clan castle. This clan castle here, it's a little bit more centralized than the other ones, but how hard is it going to be to send in a few balloons to go through that cannon and on into the mortar, get the lure, and if needed, follow it up with one hog into that mortar as well to make sure there's no balloons hiding in there. That being said, you can lure to the bottom of this base, down in this area here, and very, very easily, break one wall and you're accessing the queen. So bad queen location, easy lure. Those are, two negatives right off the bat. Now, if we look at the symmetry on this base, draw a line down the middle. Everything is the same. You've got the wizard towers in the same location on both sides. You've got the air defenses in the same location on both sides. Such an easy raid to drop, 3 hounds on this air defense, 2 on this one, and then just target balloons into the point defenses, and then, rage them through the the base. It happens in a wave. Everything dies at the same time, and because it's symmetrical, both sides of balloons, as long as you send in an even number and do it at the same time on both sides, they pass through at exactly the same time because all of the buildings have the same number of hit points in the same spots. Just a really, really easy way to attack this via the air. Now, if we look at the giant bomb locations, again, those at least something to be desired as well. This location doesn't really make sense because it's an empty compartment. Hogs will not path there. They'll path around it. So, we know that there's going to be a Tesla in there. And then the bombs, could be in the core. Again, there's no reason to path over that spot. If you come from the bottom, you're going to kind of bounce up this way. If you come from the top, they bounce out of the core. So, again, not great. The only spots you really have to worry about are here. But you can trip those one at a time if you just enter the core from over here. They're faced the wrong way, so you're automatically going to come from the short side of that potential double giant bomb. So bad bomb location, exposed queen, exposed clan castle, symmetrical base, very, very easy air raid. This is another example of something that you don't want to copy. Last one we're going to look at that is, at least something to be desired here. Again, look at the symmetry. Draw a line down the middle of the base. Everything is the exact same. It's a mirror image from one side to the other. This queen is exposed. All you have to do is break one wall, send in your king. She jumps the wall. He takes her out. Very, very easy to take out that position. Same thing at the bottom again with this base. Send in 3 balloons to that cannon. They path up to that archer tower, get the whole lure. Send in a hog if needed, and then you've got a spot here at the bottom, to anchor if you need to. That's another thing that you don't want to do in your base is give free buildings to anchor on. So if you look at these army camps on the each side, it is out of range of the nearest defense, which is this cannon, which probably has a range something like this. So all you have to do is drop an archer here, and you're now able to pull the troops to the ideal location to kill them, and then use that same kill squad to accomplish another objective, which is taking out the queen. So those are some examples of things that you do not want to do when you're developing a base. Now let's hit the drawing board here and highlight some of the things that are acceptable. Asymmetrical design is extremely important for the reasons, basically opposite of what I've covered this far. Asymmetry, that's being different. It's not the same on both sides. There's no spot that you could draw a line through half of your base and the other half is the exact same. The reason you want an asymmetrical base is to make pathing unpredictable. When somebody drops balloons, you don't want them to understand where everything's going to go. It makes things very difficult. It also hides your trap locations better. It's not obvious when somebody scouts your base, oh, he's got his giant bombs there, Tesla's here, rock and roll, let's go for 3 stars. It's not like that. You're going to basically force out a second attack, a cleanup attempt on your base, just because people have to do like a scouting attack on your base just to be sure where everything is. Secondly, centralized archer queen and unlurable clan castle. I showed you several examples just a moment ago of bases that had easy lures. Centralized archer queen was not a thing for those guys. It was basically break one wall or send in a king and the archer queen dies. That's something that you want to not do. You want to make sure that that queen is in the center of your base somewhere and that the clan castle cannot be lured by sending in just a few hogs. You need to force them to destroy a couple of defense buildings and move towards the center of your base in order to get that lure done, because those are the two most important steps, are taking out that clan castle and getting that queen killed. So if you make those two things extremely hard to do, the chances of you being 3-starred are very slim. Next, you want to balance and protect your air defenses. You don't want them to be identical or symmetrical because you don't want it to be predictable, how your hounds and balloons path through the base to take them out. But you do want them to be balanced. You want them to have good coverage throughout the base. You want them to cover your point defenses that are on the outer rings of your base. You also don't want them to be far enough from your core to where you could send in a few hogs and target them first or second, basically, with a group of hogs. You want to make sure that it's difficult to get to them and that they can't get a cheap air defense at the beginning of their raid for just the cost of a few hogs. Next, you want to make sure that double giant bombs are incorporated in your base and they're sunk deep to where they're not pre-triggerable with just a few troops. You also want to include several decoy positions for giant bombs in your base. They also could be Tesla decoys, and that makes it just uncertain when you're scouting a base. You don't know exactly where things are going to pop up and how to hit that base. Lastly, you want to make efficient use of obstacles. High HP storages, town hall, walls, etc. Those are things that they're going to slow up an attack. You want to place those things in front of key objectives like your archer queen, your air defenses, anything that's going to cause your troops to group up and get killed quickly. That's going to be great. So all of that being said, let's take a look at some good base designs. And these may not be perfect. They may not get all of the checkpoints checked off, but they're going to hit the majority of them. So looking at this first base, this is obviously we have centralized the clan castle and placed a far less significant importance on the town hall. Now if you look at the clan castle, it should be something, I'll try to draw this one more time, almost about like that. There we go. So notice this ring and you'll notice all of the point defenses that are lined up on the outside of that ring. So under no angle that this enemy can take can he get inside the radius of that with some hog riders. So say he drops in some hogs over here to get the lure, they're going to path into this archer tower, and they're probably, they might kill the building and get in here to the mortar, but what if there is a spring trap in between there, which I can tell you there probably is. That's going to flip off 2 or 3 hogs, and that lure is going to be incomplete. They might get a couple archers out of it. So next, you're going to try to send in, more troops, and you're going to likely screw up their raid, and you want to have it that way, so no matter where they send in their troops from, it does not accomplish the goal of getting the lure. Now, as far as the archer queen is concerned, you'll notice her buried in here in the center of the base. You're going to have to climb over 1, 2, 3 walls to get to her. Obviously, she will jump into this location here, but you've got a storage, you've got a town hall, you've even got air defenses and another storage here, along with a lot of incoming damage. You've got expos, you've got Teslas that'll pop in here. You'll notice I haven't shown you all of the trap locations for this particular base. I don't necessarily want to give away the trap locations of bases that are currently in use. I don't know what the status is. I design a lot of bases for my guys in our clan, but suffice it to say, he has 2 double giant bomb locations, and you'll notice throughout this base, if you look at it right now, where those bombs going to be. Now there's some pretty likely candidates. You've got between these 2 buildings here, you've got between those 2 buildings. Your double giant bomb locations, in order to sell them, you want them to be between 2 defenses. So all of those are great candidates for double giant bomb locations, and you'll see how many of them there are. How are you going to attack this with hogs without knowing, exactly where the bombs and the Teslas are? So you want to, this is a great example. The first thing you want to look at is symmetry. Obviously, this is an asymmetrical base. Things are not parallel. Things are not exactly the same on one side as they are on the other. To prove that, let's go ahead and we'll do the line down the middle, and first look at the air defenses. Those are a little bit off kilter. Obviously, the town hall is not in the middle. The wizard towers are skewed to one side. The expos are not the same. So obviously, it's not symmetrical. Predictable trap locations, predictable and even pathing for your air raids. That's what you're trying to avoid. The clan castle lure, you want it to be a difficult lure, and you also want to avoid buildings that you can anchor to. You'll notice around this base there are very few spots available to anchor to, and the ones that are available are optimal positions for from a defensive perspective. That's where you want people to anchor to. So moving on to the queen kill, you don't want to have a double giant bomb in front of the queen. Typically, there are times when this could potentially work when it's a truly centralized queen, and she, you could come from any direction to get her. Then it's not as crucial. But if, for example, you had your queen right here, and this was your double giant bomb location, I mean, how hard would it be to break into this compartment, send your golem, and then drop a jump spell here? So when your troops go in to kill that queen, they trip the giant bombs and they're essentially worthless. So that's something that you don't want. Now, we want to make sure that the air locations, you want them to be balanced. You want them to have good coverage, but at the same time, you don't want it to be completely symmetrical. So like if you look at the air defense radius, you want them to cover the outer point defenses of the base. So trying to draw the proper coverage, so it'll look like that, where the cannon, the wizard towers, all that's going to be covered by the air defenses. And then when you're designing your bases, you want to leave open slots next to your air defenses, and those are going to be locations for seeking air mines. Seeking air mines are the black balloons. You want those to come up and hit hounds as they come into Lava Loon your base. Lava Loon is the most overpowered strategy right now. It's the most effective at Town Hall 9 and Town Hall 10. So if you put seeking air mines in front of your air defenses as those hounds come in, the air mines hit them, it does as much damage to them as possible, as quickly as possible. You want to take them out. So this is an example of a good base. Let's look at another one. All right. Here we go. So this is another base, and this one doesn't have it's more obvious as far as the double giant bomb positions, but at the same time they're tucked into the base and they're protected. Your air defenses in this base are a little bit more symmetrical, but it's not like the line where you can go straight, up the base. But this base has very, unpredictable Tesla locations. I'm not going to highlight exactly where they are. But your queen, she's buried back here, and whoever it is going to have to go through quite a jungle here of high hit point storages, as well as a lot of incoming damage. Both of these Expos can reach. There are potential Teslas, all around. And, the clan castle is going to come out as well if they try to do it without a lure. Now, if you look at the clan castle radius, the same thing applies here to this base. Very difficult to get the lure done. Now, I can give you an example of, a Tesla being unpredictable but also serving a purpose. Now, you can do a clan castle lure trap where, say, this building, this building, this building, all of these are on the outside of that radius, making it difficult to lure. Well, where could we lure from that looks a little bit easier? Oh, well, this building right here, it seems to be inside that, radius. Well, what if we send in troops there to get that done? So they plan their army, they send troops, and when they send those troops, they're immediately redirected, because what's going to happen? Oh, a Tesla is going to pop right here on that border, and then those troops, instead of going to that archer tower, they redirect, and they don't have enough with the incoming damage, the king, all of that going there. They don't have enough to get inside and get the lure done. So it kind of screws up the deployment, the pathing. That's just kind of the way it goes. So the double giant bombs in this base, obviously, like I said, they're not as disguised as some of the other ones. So, but at the same time, they're buried. You're not going to be able to send in, a single hog or something to trip those. You need to be able to penetrate deep in a base in order to make that happen. They could be here, they could be here, they could be here. It's protected. And then same thing with the air defenses. You're not going to be able to send in just a couple hogs to get to those. They're protected, and they have good coverage of the outside of the base. They also have air traps around them, and they're able to take out hounds quickly as they come in. So let's look at one final base, and then we'll hop into my live base. This is it's a very obvious anti-3-star base, because the town hall is essentially a freebie. It's all the way out, obviously, here. That is nowhere near centralized, and it should be just basically a gimme. The funny thing is a lot of people that hit this particular base, they don't even get the town hall. I don't know what the deal is, but they just fail at it. And I don't know if it's because they're going for 3 or what, but if we look at the lure on this base, it's going to be about like that, and you'll notice that it is behind all of the point defenses on the outside of the base. So no matter where you send in troops, it's behind there. And you'll notice what we've done with this town hall. We've used it in a fashion that if you want to kill that queen, she's in the middle of the base, essentially behind a bunch of walls. Well, to access her, you're going to have to come from this side, you're going to have to come from this side, or you're going to have to come from this side. Those are the 3 most obvious directions to come from. And no matter which way you're going to go, you've got so much high HP buildings holding you up. Your DPS your DPS damage per second troops, wizards, witches, etc. They're going to get stuck, far back on these storages on both sides. It's going to hold them up. The town hall is going to hold them up. Skeleton traps are something that you're going to want to put in an area that's going to distract troops for the longest amount of time when they're under the most amount of fire. With the highest damage coming in, that is when you want to deploy your skeleton traps and basically make troops go nuts. It doesn't necessarily have to be around the town hall, but that's a great place to put them, because around the town hall, that's a high HP building that, troops are going to move back to after they're done killing the skeletons, and it's, keeps them in one spot for a long time. So in addition to your queen, you've got a Barb King here as well that is able to help out the queen when, she becomes under siege. Now, double giant bombs in this base could be in a variety of places along with single giant bombs. There's space anywhere up here. There's space here. Room all over this base to basically put bombs in, and it's up to the attacker to figure out where that's going to be and try their best to combat that. So looking at that base, look at how much open space that is that they have to try to plan for or figure out. That's not an easy task. The air defenses in this base, they're not symmetrical. They're not even. They're not on the same plane. It's different. And then also something to point out, like in this base, they have separated the wizard towers. The wizard towers are not in range of the air defenses completely. They, in some cases they might be, but what that does is it basically allows the hounds to move by, stand on the air defense, and like this wizard tower drops target and then we'll start shooting the balloons as they come in. Same thing happens, up on this upper side. So that's another thing to look for. In a base, you want to always have your expos set to the air. Lava Loon, again, is the most potent strategy right now. There's many variants of that. There's your rotational Laloons, the pentas, the quads, all of these different styles that you can do. That being said, it's always air that is going to be the most dangerous. And then as long as you have a lot of decoy locations and well-protected bombs, hogs aren't usually the best option for your base. An expert hogger can still hog you, especially if he knows where your bombs are. But that typically is going to take multiple attacks on your base to figure that out. So all that being said, let's hop over to my live base. We'll look at some traps. We'll explain exactly why I do the things that I do, and hopefully it's going to give you some ideas. Alright guys, so I promised a look into my active war base, and here it is. Obviously after this video goes out, this will no longer be my active war base because I'm not about to put a blueprint to how to beat my base on the internet. So that being said, let's go ahead and look at a bunch of the components that we talked about and assess how good of a job we're doing here. So from a symmetry standpoint, obviously it's an asymmetrical setup. You'll notice specifically the bombs and the Teslas, those are not symmetrical at all. The expos are also not symmetrical. The town hall's not in the middle of the base. That being said, let's look at the first objective that people are trying to accomplish, and that's the clan castle lure. So if we click the clan castle and you look at the radius, that radius falls inside the point defenses. So if we highlight the point defenses, and you'll notice the clan castle radius, people are going to have a hard time getting inside that. Now, one of the places they think that they might be able to do that is over on this top side. You've got this archer tower that's kind of sunken in, this guy right here, and there might be a potential to get in there kind of easily through this cannon. Well, I've put a Tesla out here to ensure that it's a little bit trickier than they might anticipate. Air defenses are, protected with buildings initially, so that there's no straight shot from the external part of the base. Double giant bombs, we're trying to protect against hog raids, or at least make it a little bit more difficult. But I mean, you see where the double giant bombs are. You've got locations here and here. Now, we could easily move those. There are several other places in this base that could, have potential to have a double giant bomb. Up here is one of them. Right here is one. Right here is one. Here is one. And it looks like we could probably... No, Town Hall's in the way of that one. Here. And I believe right here as well. So all of those locations, could have double giant bombs. And when you're looking at this base, there's a lot of empty spaces that... I forgot one right here. A lot of empty spaces that could have, double giant bombs. And that's really, really important that you have those decoys. When somebody looks at your base, you don't want them to be able to, say, oh, there's the bombs. We'll just send a golem in there. It's going to trip those. We don't want it to be obvious like that. So we could quickly, rearrange this base to be a little bit different, where maybe, we protect, we'll send in these guys here and do something like that, and then maybe move these over here. There's just so many different options that you can do with a base that's set up like this. You've got so much more room, and then you can mix it up and experiment with which locations work the best. Maybe the bombs don't get triggered at the same time. We have to move them around. So your queen kill, let's look at the queen kill. She is located in the center of my base, one of the most centralized buildings besides the clan castle. Now, around the center of the base, you're going to want your highest level walls, because no matter which side of the base the enemy enters from, they're going to have to get through that core, and once they get in there, they're going to have to then get out of there. And when they get out, they're going to have to typically bang on some walls. If you have high level walls in there, that's going to slow down the raid, and all of the defenses that are on the outside of that core, say if they came from the town hall direction, which 9 out of 10 attackers typically do, they come from here, they get into these apartments, and they're banging on these walls here and here, and you have Teslas that are sitting back, just sniping them, picking them off. And an X-bow, you've got point defenses that are not necessarily easy to get to once you've entered the base. So it's a thoughtful base from a decoy standpoint. When you have your Teslas in different compartments, it makes it so a go wipe raid can't just send a bunch of kill squad troops into a single compartment, rage them up, and then take out all of your defense that's going to hurt those troops. So having them in different compartments, you'll notice one's in this compartment, one's here, one's all the way out there. That just makes it difficult to deal with all that, because the spells are typically used up by the time you get to other high damage locations. Looking at the traps are very important. You'll notice that the air traps, first of all, where are my air traps? Let's look at the Seeking Air Mines. The Seeking Air Mines are those black balloons. Those will do high damage to a single air target. Now, when a lava hound comes into this base, they typically come from this direction. They'll send in a couple. Well, one of these Seeking Air Mines, hits those hounds, and one of them blows up almost instantly. There are a couple Teslas, an X-bow, air defense. All of that's incoming on those hounds. They blow up immediately, and as soon as they blow up, in this base, I've designed my wizard towers to be in range of those air defenses with the Seeking Air Mines, because those hounds blow up very quickly, and the wizard towers are able to take them out. The balloons that are behind them take them out pretty quickly, because there's a lot of distance here. The balloons have to start back here behind these lines. There's a lot of distance for them to cover and buildings to stop at before they get to that air defense. So Seeking Air Mines, I recommend doubling them up on an air defense, and stagger them on opposite sides of the base. So when they do a rotational style attack, no matter what air defense they start off on, the second air defense is the farthest they'll have to go to have a hound quickly taken out by 2 Seeking Air Mines. So if they start on this air defense, so they take that one out, and then they head on to the next air defense, those air mines take out the Hound immediately, and all of a sudden this becomes a black hole for balloons. They lose the momentum and then start having to send an additional Hound in to help out. That's going to start slowing them down, slowing that momentum as they try to get around your base, and it just end up not working out for them and they don't have enough. So the same thing, if they come to this side, maybe they do well on the first portion of your base, but as the Hounds move to the next one and they send their next Hound in, those seeking air mines take out that Hound super fast, and then you have all of that incoming fire, your Expos, Wizard Towers, Tesla, air defense, all of that is, incoming on the balloons that are remaining standing. So, not to mention you've got a centralized queen that if it's not dealt with, she's running around wreaking havoc. That's, a very, very, big bonus of having her in the center. So, another thing that you'll see a lot on this base, troops will come in from this side on like a ground style attack, a go wipe or something. They might use a couple wall breakers to get through the first one on the second one, and typically it doesn't work out for them because this Wizard Tower is firing here at the Golem that's in there inevitably, and they wall breakers end up getting shot. The Tesla's far enough back to where when the Golem's standing at these defenses, it hasn't triggered yet. Anything, wall breakers that run past, the bombs get them, the Teslas get them. It just doesn't go well. So the core, let's focus on that now. These skeleton traps, they're set to ground and they're used as distractions. So basically anytime something gets close to your concentrated damage, which are your Expos and your Teslas and your Queen, all of this concentrated damage, that's where you want your skeleton traps, because those things are running around. If they haven't dealt with your clan castle, those troops are filtering out. You've got all this distraction. You've got your queen. You've got your Barb King that's coming over to help on troops that are assaulting your base. It just gets to be too much. So hopefully you guys have learned something from seeing these style of bases. They're very, very difficult to 3-star, especially when you can't see the traps. I highly recommend that you play with your own designs. Something that I can show you right now that might help you quite a bit. To start your base, knowing that you want an unlurable clan castle and a queen that is also centralized, start with your queen next to your clan castle, but start with the clan castle on the map first. Centralize it on the little dot here. Drag it down like that. So now it's centralized. What you're going to want to start to do is with your 5 cannons, make a little pentagon around your clan castle. So put one here and you'll check it. Something like that. And then, take your next cannon, put it like that. Next cannon, like that. Next cannon. Not quite far enough, so we'll kick it out one more. Something like that works good. We'll move it down. And then we'll take our last cannon and complete our little pentagon here. And you'll notice that all of a sudden we have a perimeter here that we can start building from. That becomes an extremely difficult to lure base. So that's how you can start, making your own design. The next thing that you can do is maybe, put your queen out there and an Expo. And then when you've got that down, remember we're not prioritizing the town hall, so maybe we do something like this, and voila, we have a core that's done. You've got an extra spot in there. Maybe we put a Tesla in here. Something like that. And then, for your town hall, because it's not centralized, we don't care about that. We put it here, and then help, shield, and air defense. Kick it around, something like that. And then, you leave spaces so that you have the ability to distract when they get to these high value damage dealing points. So that's how you can start out a base on your own. I'm not going to go through the entire base building process. But hopefully you can get to the point where you are building anti-3-star bases successfully. Pop into this one more time. So here's what we got. One thing I will say is don't copy this base, guys. I know some of you will, but it's on the internet, YouTube. You're watching this. Other people are watching this. When they see this, they'll be able to take you out. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. Hopefully you guys have learned something. Good luck building your own anti-3-star bases. Remember the goal, that we talked about in the beginning of the video is to figure out what the goals are for your clan. And if you guys are at a point where you're 3-starring your enemy bases and you know that they're going to have to 3-star yours in order to see success and to defeat you, you need to design your bases in a way that does not prioritize the town hall as the most important thing in your base. Get that thing out of the center. Use it for what it is. It's a high HP obstacle that troops are going to have to overcome. Centralize that clan castle, make it difficult to lure, and make those opening 3 steps for any successful 3-star raid: the lure the clan castle, killing the archer queen, tripping bombs, or taking out air defenses. Make those things as difficult as humanly possible for an enemy attacker, and the more difficult you can make them and the more expensive with regards to housing space for troops, the more expensive that you can make them. If they're having to spend lots of troops and a spell to get these things done, you're going to come out on top more often than not. So this has been Powerbang with your anti-3-star war base design tutorial. Hopefully you like the bases. Hopefully you learned some things. Check us out next time. I'll have some more awesome content coming your way.